Good evening and welcome. You're watching Left, Right and Centre with me, Sanket Upadhyay. So the fear of the pandemic is still not over. Who has forgotten the deadly second wave in India? And then now, with Omicron spreading faster than we think, even the Indian government admits it spreads 3 times faster than Delta. There is a real and possible threat of a third wave. So is this a message for one and all that objects in that mirror are closer than they appear? Since many of us like to look into the past, let's not forget as we look into the past about the deadly effects of the second wave. The Omicron third wave is closer than it appears. And what steps are we taking? We'll just deep dive into an assessment for all of our viewers. Let's get you that. First, the overall numbers across the globe. So in the United States, there are 268,307 daily cases, of which 1,485 are Omicron cases. In the United Kingdom, 91,000 plus daily cases, of which half, 45,000, are now of the Omicron variant. In Canada, about 30,000 cases, 1,900 of them Omicron. In Norway, 11,500 daily cases, 3,800 Omicron. In Denmark, the Omicron cases have gone up to 23,000. That is how rapidly it is spreading across the globe. Now, here are Omicron and India's challenge. Our numbers are not very high. Perhaps one function is because we are not testing enough. And many have recovered also with very mild symptoms. But the challenges, if it were to spread, are these on your screen. Challenge number 1. There is still no decision on booster shots in this country. Even now, we don't know whether booster shot will be given or not. The government is still thinking whether it is going to be effective or not. There is a significant drop in mask usage, as highlighted by the government itself. Testing has not picked up pace. It's very limited, and that is why perhaps our numbers of the Omicron variant are also limited. Don't think that we have fewer numbers. We are testing less. That's why we have fewer numbers. Maybe the spread is more. There is challenge with the pace of genomic sequencing. If there will be more sequencing done, we will know of this variant and its spread, and also perhaps newer variants. And the most important in this country, we are heading into election season, festivities, wedding season. All of them seem to be continuing unabated. With no mask, with less tests, with poor arrangement, at least as of this moment. All of it a recipe for disaster. The idea is not to be alarmist. The idea is to basically tell everyone that let us not forget what we went through just 8 months ago in this country. Also, there are now conflicting reports on how deadly or how dangerous can the Omicron variant be, which is also adding to the confusion. How lethal is it? There is an Imperial College study which says there is no evidence to say that Omicron is less severe than Delta. Now, this is a serious report. Very serious report you cannot ignore, because anyone who's concluding that no, it's not that dangerous, look at this study. But then there are also people like Professor François Ballot of the University College London, who say that the Denmark data shows fewer hospitalizations than Delta, basically concluding that it may not be all that dangerous. But do you see the problem? There is very limited data, very little time, and very little assessment that has been done to conclude that whether it is dangerous or not. And the fact that we know less makes it more dangerous, because you don't know what your response should ideally be. Now, amid all of this, only today, the central government has written a letter to various state governments where they've said that we need even greater foresight, data analysis, dynamic decision making. Omicron is 3 times more transmissible than Delta, and Delta is still present. Take containment measures, curbs even before thresholds are reached. Containment should include imposition of night curfew based on local district situation, ensure strict regulation of large gatherings. It also says that curtail the number of marriages and funerals, Then it says restrict numbers in offices, industries, public transport, use emergency funds to increase hospital beds, ambulances, oxygen equipment, door-to-door case searches, contact tracing, accelerate and ensure 100% vaccination, all cluster samples to be tested for the Omicron without delay. Here is a bit of suggestion for the political fraternity. Lead by example, cancel your rallies for the upcoming UP elections, Manipur elections, Goa election, Punjab election, Uttarakhand election. And when you do that, then perhaps they would have a rightful claim in asking people to maintain caution. This is the exact sequence of events that happened just ahead of the second wave. We are about 6,000-7,000 cases daily. And then the world over there was an explosion of COVID. In India, we were busy with West Bengal elections and wedding season and all those things. And the deadly second wave came. So as we introduce our next guest, that opening placard on your screen once again, the Omicron third wave, objects in the mirror are closer than they appear. Let us be cognizant of this as much as we possibly can. I would like to introduce Dr. Peter Chin Hong, infectious disease specialist, professor of at the UCSF, University of California, San Francisco. Thank you very much, Dr. Hong, for joining us. What's your assessment, the international study? What all have we learnt about this new variant? I know we know less, but how much do we know?
Well, we still don't know the full picture, but the picture is emerging in terms of the three main questions we ask. Is it more transmissible? I think the jury's out. It's definitely more transmissible. And you can tell that by how fast it really moves like wildfire in a country. Say the United States, for example, 2 weeks ago, 1% of Omicron. 1 week ago, 13%. And then yesterday, the CDC tells us it's 73%. We've seen this pattern in the UK. We've seen it in South Africa. It's like you're driving a sports car instead of a Toyota Prius. How fast it spreads. Second question, do vaccines evade it? Well, it appears so because there's more breakthrough infections in people who are fully vaccinated, fewer in people who are boosted. And there's some estimates showing that if you have just 2 doses, your protection of an mRNA vaccine is 30% from infection. If you have a booster, it goes up to about 70%. But notice it's not 100%. But nevertheless, the third question, does it cause more severe disease? Jury's still out, conflicting information, probably different in different areas based on how much vaccination is in the community, how much recent waves you've seen. But note that previous infection is not enough to protect you from Omicron. In South Africa, being infected less than 90 days ago with their recent Delta surge was no protection for reinfection in the setting. So, in my heart of hearts, I think it's probably going to cause less severe disease, but affect a lot of people. So even if you take 2% hospitalization of a large number of people, that's still straining the hospitals compared to 20% in Delta of a smaller number.
Very important point. So you're saying the transmissibility or its virulence may be high, but how much will it infect, we do not know. But because of its high virulence, it is going to influence more people. And if there are more people with comorbidities, it may lead to greater hospitalization or greater care requirement and more stress on our existing healthcare system.
And another point too, healthcare workers are from the community. They are also going to get infected. Particularly if they haven't gotten boosted. So that's going to take people out of the healthcare system. So a hospital is not just a physical bed, it's the people taking care of patients. So when you take those people out, you give them a 10-day COVID prison sentence of isolation, all of a sudden there are not enough people to work in the hospitals.
All right, Dr. Hong, thank you very much for your time. This is serious business across the globe. We know so little, so less, so many conflicting reports, and our only defense as of this moment is at our level a mask, and then with countries at a country level perhaps greater care, putting things in order. How is our country dealing with preparing for a third wave? I have the Health Minister of Chhattisgarh, Mr. T.S. Singh Deo. Mr. Deo, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
The central government has only very recently, I think about 2 hours ago, written a letter to the states saying activate your war rooms, have even greater foresight, data analysis, dynamic decision making. Do you think that the threat of Omicron is real and it cannot be taken lightly?
Most certainly, and at the expense of seeming cynical, I would like to say that we should not be talking about whether there is to be or the effects of Omicron or how much it is going to spread, etc. Because the projections again are very clear. Right from the time we entered into the pandemic situation worldwide, it was obvious that it is going to spread, this virus is going to spread throughout the world. If we were not taking it seriously, we were ostriches with our heads buried in the sand. And even today, it is not a matter of one mutation. There are going to be hundreds and hundreds of mutations of this virus. Until we have a cure, we really don't know how we would be dealing with it in a medical sort of a way. So we must presume that all cases are Omicron. Okay. What if all cases are Omicron? What are we to do? How are we to prevent spreading all cases that are going to now happen to be Omicron? That is the attitude I believe we should be taking. Omicron is just a name. We are in a blind space in the sense that we don't know what nature the next mutant is going to take, the next mutation is going to take. We don't know. We don't know how levels of morbidity we'll face, what levels of mortality
what's your assessment on booster shots, Mr. Deo? Because right now I feel that the government seems to be dragging its feet on a decision. Number one, they say there is no comprehensive study to suggest that it will work. I can understand that. But do you think that with more and more doctors now saying that go for it, we are delaying and may end up having to pay a very heavy price?
Certainly, Sanket. We are denying something again which is known. In the scientific world, it is known that when the doses started, it was seen as a 3-dose situation. It was right from day one, it was visualized as first dose, second dose, third dose. We stopped at second dose for whatever reasons, maybe worldwide. But the protocol from day one, the scientific protocol, to whichever extent I have been exposed to expert opinion, has always been that this is a 3-dose protocol. So actually, we are talking of it in terms of a booster dose, whereas it should be a 3-dose protocol. That is the situation known to.
Would you have you submitted a representation to the central government to this effect?
I have. I didn't want to not be responsible. I knew how things would work out. But I've written twice already over the last 20 days to the minister at the Government of India, and I've received his replies too, that he has taken note of my letter. But that's about it. We should not drag our feet. We should not drag our feet on children below 18. These are established scientific facts now. Our scientists must come up openly and express this opinion, and we should proceed on this path of next dose of vaccination.
Mr. T.S. Singh Deo, my next question does not pertain to your state because it's not an election-bound state. But do you think that it sounds very rich on the part of governments to say take containment measures, curbs, even before thresholds are reached, and then you have these massive rallies, political rallies that take place, where the very same leaders are seen, gloating in this fact that so many people showed up?
We are making a mistake, Sanket. We are all making a mistake by participating in these rallies and organizing them too. We should take a call if we need to, sort of have a deadline. Okay, from the new year, we stop these massive rallies, adopt something else. If you want to go into it, go into it. Our positivity levels today are low, but we are inviting trouble. We are inviting trouble by having a very big rallies. Again, I'm talking cross-party. There's no point in giving blame to one or the other. We must all adopt this protocol and take a call and say, okay, New Year, we are not going to do it.
All right, Mr. T.S. Singh, thank you very much for joining us. This is just the beginning of our continuous focus on the Omicron third wave, possible third wave, because objects in the mirror, which you will see on your screen right now, the Omicron third wave, these objects in the mirror are closer, much closer than they appear. Thank you very much to our guest. Let's shift focus to our story number 2. There's a anti-conversion bill which was to be tabled in the Vidhan Saudha in Karnataka, which has rocked the Karnataka Assembly. The Congress party tore a copy of the bill. It is leading to lots of controversial debates in Karnataka. I would like to introduce Dr. Vaman Acharya, Senior Spokesperson of BJP Karnataka, and Dr. Syed Hasan Abbas. He is a political analyst, supports the Congress party. Dr. Vaman Acharya, you've seen the sort of response that has come in from the opposition. There is a feeling that this is going to be a law which will target communities, and rather than doing good, will do harm to the society. How would you respond?
Probably Congress has taken that this is targeting their party. So they are more aggressive and they are demonstrating their so-called anger and love towards minorities, which is false. The rule, the amendment that we are putting into the Vidhan Saudha is not anti-conversion bill. It is protection of freedom of right to religion. This is how the whole bill itself is named as. One is, this was needed because of the statistics which I have already given in last 2 or 3 interviews with you, wherein the number of conversions before independence was 0.018. Today, it is as high as 3%. And in many cases, they are not even registered. So to make conversions legal, systematic, noted, this bill has been brought.
Okay, Syed Abbas, how would you respond? Dr. Vaman Acharya says that this is just to streamline the process. If somebody wants to, he's basically saying that he's not opposed to somebody converting, but it has to be done legally and not illegally.
Well, first and foremost, I was hearing Dr. Vaman Acharya, a very senior respected spokesperson of the Karnataka Bharatiya Janata Party Congress and BJP, and he will certainly agree with me on one front that we do certainly come from the land of Sri Baswana and from the land of Sri Rashtra Kavi Kuvempu, where they've always, even before the Indian Constitution architected by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, these were the two legendary men who spoke of freedom of right, religion and speech. First and foremost, respected sir, do not we have a legal body framework which protects the rights, religion and speech? The fact of the matter, the BJP leaders here in Karnataka speak of a silent Mughal invasion. They also blame the Christian organization, calling them rice-bag converts, so on and so forth. Respected sir, there are 2 points I'd like to bring to your notice. First and foremost, in Islam, lakum dinukum waliyuddin, hamara deen hamare saath, aapka deen aapke saath. To me is my religion, to you is your religion. Any form of forceful conversion will be considered null and void and it will be forbidden, which is haram. I come from a Christian convent. I also come from a Christian organization where do help the needy. The real question here to be asked is, have I been allured? No. Have I been coerced? No.
No, but then, one moment. Dr. Abbas, I want to know what specific sections of the bill do you not approve of? Or you disapprove of the entire idea of getting a bill like this?
Certainly. First and foremost, let me tell you, imprisonment of 3 to 10 years. The laughable matter here is that, Sanket, that there is absolutely no need of any amendment to come through. We already, not just state-wise, but even otherwise, central government, we do have the laws which protect the rights of religion.
Okay, so you're saying that this imprisonment clause, this imprisonment clause is being questioned by you. Dr. Acharya, how would you respond? Jail term up to 10 years for illegal conversion.
See, if nobody is doing any illegal or wrong or coerced conversions, there is no need for worrying. Not that we are against Christians. We love them. It's a very good community. But only question is, how do you convert them? How do you convert their faiths? So because of this, what simple things were made? One is you make a declaration in front of the DC or the Tahsildar that you are going to convert. After you get converted, you make another notice and give it to the Tahsildar or DC, district collector, to say that I have been converted.
I just hope, Dr. Vaman Acharya, that when you introduce this bill, there is a proper discussion, and if certain amendments or suggestions are made, maybe they can be incorporated so that you can have an inclusive bill, right? You should not have a situation where you bring in a bill and just go ahead with it without any discourse.
No, there have been discussions for last 2 months, may not be in assembly, and it will be discussed tomorrow and day after tomorrow in assembly before it becomes a law.
Is it in terms of its structure not acceptable, and will this lead to a political backlash? What's the political opinion going to be on this anti-conversion bill? Will be very interesting to see, and how will it play out in the politics of Karnataka will also be interesting. Thank you very much.
Also the timing, Sanket, sir.
Yeah, running out of time. I'm going to have a detailed discussion on this at some later time, but thank you very much. Let's also take in some comments that we got on coup. This was related to Omicron. Haifa says, should the government not start the lockdown again during the festivities to prevent the new variant? A gentleman called Mr. Perfect says, reports from foreign countries are causing concern. It is essential to take precautions as we all have the festive season ahead of us. We do not need another lockdown. Well, we all can contribute in stopping or delaying a wave, a massive wave. Wear that mask. Avoid gatherings. Good night and goodbye.